Hello YouTube, Mudcrab here. I'm here to tell you guys about macros. But first off, I'd like to apologize because I haven't posted a video in a while, but I have some good news. I am revamping the channel with a bunch of World of Warcraft content. I'm a huge World of Warcraft fan. That's right, I play the Horde, my main's a Warlock, but my guides, some of them, will pertain to mainly Warlocks, but many, like this macro guide, will be to all classes. So I hope you guys enjoy my first video of World of Warcraft. So today I'm going to be talking about macros. Now before I do that, what is a macro? Well, a macro is a list of commands that is activated upon a single hotkey on your action bar. Now, the first thing to do would be to type /macro in the chat bar to open up the macro menu. Here we have all of my macros that I've made, and I'm going to go over one of them real quick. It's called my main attack. It is the most helpful thing, and I will explain why later. So, it says /cast sequence space reset equals target space immolate comma space incinerate, etc. with other warlock abilities that I want to use my main attack. So what it means is /cast sequence is probably the best macro command starter for combat because it can cast multiple spells in the order that you choose, not just one ability. So then the next thing I have is it says reset equals target. What that means is that every time I change my target, this sequence will reset. For example, if I'm doing Immolate, then I use Incinerate again, and then Fell Flame, and then I change my target, it will go back to Immolate, Incinerate, Fell Flame. But there's also another way it resets. If you reach the end, it will go back up to Immolate in an endless cycle. And every one click is one spell in the sequence. Alright, so let's go through make a new macro just to show you guys how to do it. The first thing to do is hit new, pick an icon. Let's go with the wonderful blue wind. We'll name this the wonderful blue wind. That doesn't fit. The wonderful blue, that works. So once we have that set up, you can type in any command in World of Warcraft, but in this case, I'm keeping it strictly focused on combat. Now, what I suggest doing is typing /cast sequence. You can type /cast if you want to cast just one ability in an unspecified order, but I highly suggest typing /cast sequence. So then, I'm going to type reset. The reset is telling the macro when to reset its cycle, and there are many ways to do that. The two I find most helpful, is reset equals target, which is the one I use in this macro, the one I showed earlier, that resets the macro cycle upon switching a target. In this case, I'm going to use reset equals combat /30. What this means is that once I am out of combat for 30 seconds, it will reset my macro cycle. So let's type in, let's do this, say, fear. If I'm a warlock and I want to have my fears in a single macro, first we have to look at the ability that I want to use. Here, simply fear. So you need to type it in exactly as the spell is labeled, then a comma, then a space, and then the next spell. So my other fear spell is Howl of Terror. Let's type that in. Now, when you finish, you just leave it blank. You don't need a comma because it will reset upon that. Now, I'd hit save. Now to use my macro, I'll just drag it right here, place it upon my action bar, and it's ready to be used. Notice how when I click it, it says you have no target, so I know it's working. So let's go down to the dummies and check it out. Okay, so I click on the dummy, and I click the macro, and look, I just cast Fear. Let me click it again. I cast Howl of Terror. Now, let me cast Fear, and then leave. Now I wait. I want to be out of combat. Alright, now we re-enter. Click on this. Sorry about that. So now that we're back in combat, when we cast it, it's Fear. It resets the cycle. But if I change target, it doesn't reset like it would if I typed reset equals target. So I have some suggestions for you guys about why or when would you use a macro. Well, let's take a look at some of mine. My favorite macro is main attack. Before, I had to shift my fingers around doing Incinerate, Molly, and remembering a sequence. But now, I just can keep hitting my 1 key, and it will cast the spells I want to cast instead of having an action bar full of different abilities that I need to click and But now it's simple. And look at this. Whenever you get to a boss, or when I get to a boss, I always have my special abilities I like to use in that boss. So I made one called Final Boss, which is usually on Final Boss, and it summons a Terror Guard, uses Dark Soul instability, Chaos Bolt, Chaos Bolt, Chaos Bolt. So that's what I would have to click before in a boss, but now I just have to click one simple action bar icon to be able to use my Final Boss commands. And my other favorites include my buff, which buffs my character. Get all my buffs set up. Another good one is survive. Whenever, say I'm in a 5-man instance, the tank dies, the tank runs after me. I want to survive. I don't want to wipe. I just hit survive. Look at that. If I didn't have full health, I'd be healed even more from my health stone. But see how I'd be able to endure much more damage with that much healing, my self-healing at least. Another great one is for DOTs, in this case Affliction DOTs. When you have to click all the DOTs, go use Corruption, then Agony, then Unstable Infliction. Instead, with an Affliction or DOT rotation, you just click one icon and bang, 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 you've got all your DOTs on the target. So that's a great feature. Another great one would definitely be this. This command is called Backdraft, and it's called that because whenever I use Conflagrate twice, I get the ability Backdraft, which reduces the casting speed of Incinerate. So then, when I use Conflagrate twice, I get 6 times to cast Incinerate 30% faster, which is huge for a casting class. So I put 6 Incinerate, so I use that up. But I can't always use this macro because Conflagrate has a cooldown, so that's why I want to put it in my main attack. So that's a huge thing I want to talk about. Do not, or you can, but I would highly recommend not, putting cooldowns in a macro that has to be used 24/7 and you depend on it. Or not only cooldowns, but anything that requires resources. Like, I couldn't put Chaos Bolt in the middle of my main attack because the sequence stops and waits for me to get a Burning Ember before being able to use the Chaos Bolt, and therefore couldn't use my main attack and I'd be dead by then. I mean, you need to have a way to use an ability at all times. You can't never have anything up. You want to always be using something. So that's why I wouldn't use resource heavy spells or any cooldown abilities. Alright, so that's all. I hope you guys learned a lot about macros. I mean, when I started, I needed them. I mean, if I should have figured it out them earlier. But so yeah, revamping the channel. Make sure to subscribe. That's about all. I'll be posting videos as often as my schedule permits. I mean, it's summertime. I don't have much to do, so it's gonna be pretty good. I think I'm gonna get a lot of videos up. Alright, YouTube. See you later.